Welcome to The Knock, a podcast where we dive into real stories of real people who've experienced life before Christ and the transformation that comes when they answer the knock. Whether you're rooted in faith, feeling distant, or still unsure what you believe, our prayer is that these conversations stir something in you. Every story we share points back to the same truth. When you open the door, everything changes. Let's get into it. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Knock podcast. Today, I am super excited. Kind of a funny story. Our guest today, Brad, he was actually in our men's group. I would say a couple months ago, and we never really knew it. But yeah. Brad, happy to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. Gerrard, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Had a good workout this morning. Ready to roll on this podcast today.
There you go. Yeah, I've been doing better. Some stressors with the business and, folks leaving and stuff like that. But I'm glad to be here. And a cool thing we all have in common is we're all former Division I linemen.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Brad, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself and we'll kind of get rolling.
Okay. So I grew up in Wentzville, Missouri. Well, I was born in Kansas City. Parents moved when I was like 1 year old here. So Wentzville is all I known. My dad was a youth pastor over at a church in Lake St. Louis. So my testimony started off really early. So I'm actually dyslexic, and they say I have autistic tendencies.
Okay.
Basically what that means is like I'm probably autistic. They just can't tell you.
Right.
Didn't know that until later on in life. Until like growing up, I just couldn't read. And so like my dad being a youth pastor and stuff, they would require us as kids to read the Bible before we got breakfast.
Yeah.
And I couldn't read. And so they actually got me, or how I would read it was I had an audio book that I'd listen to. And growing up, I knew that I was different.
Yeah.
Like, hey, everyone can do this one task, but I can't. And it was hurtful growing up, especially like when I have a younger sister and she's like passing me up and reading.
Yeah.
And my testimony started off probably around 7 years old. And you'd have worksheets in Sunday school. And I couldn't do the worksheets because sometimes they would be reading, sometimes they would be writing.
Yeah.
And I remember being super frustrated. And I would pray to God because I felt like a mistake.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you kind of messed up. Why can't? It's not like I'm not trying. At night, I would pray for God to make me anyone but me. Because I hated feeling like a mistake.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was smart. Backyard football. We'd always make fun of each other growing up.
Oh, yeah.
How everyone got made fun of me was like, hey, spell the word cat. And that's actually how I started memorizing history because I couldn't spell the word cat, but I had like YouTube where I would look up history facts and I'd ask them a history fact.
Yeah.
And then when they didn't know it, I'd be like, hey, let's just be dumb together then.
Yeah.
That was my comeback for it all.
Yeah. Yeah, little kids are mean.
They are. It's brutal,
Vicious, yeah.
So before we get into that, who is Brad?
Okay.
Like, who is Brad? So you grew up in Wentzville. Tell us just a little bit more about who you are.
I like to lift weights.
There you go.
Love the outdoors. I work over at the church, North Road right
Nice.
now. We met through Supplement Superstores.
Yep.
A couple of times. And then I left as Supplement Superstores, and now I videography on the side and take photos. A little bit about me.
You play college football?
Yeah, college
at
football.
Bowling Green. That's a big thing.
That's
What position you play?
I was right tackle.
Right tackle.
So
that'll be interesting to get into. Kind of talking about the dyslexia and the stuff like that, and then a playbook for an offensive lineman. Like that's not easy,
especially at the D1 level. It's tough. Yeah, it can be for sure.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, Gerrard played at University of Colorado. I played at West Point, and then obviously Brad, Bowling Green. What we're talking about. You went out to Bowling Green, came back to Wentzville.
Mm-hmm. So I got my degree in what is called actuarial science.
Okay.
So it's the study of risk and like probability and stats.
Yeah.
So when I got hurt from football, my college career was not great.
Yeah.
Slipped 4 discs in my back, was partially like and this goes into my testimony. I had 2 discs that slipped out and was pressing my spinal cord. So if you ever have the SI nerve system, mine was like always active for like 6 months.
Wow.
So I kind of lost function of my right leg. Like I could still move it, but like I couldn't use it to step forwards.
Yeah.
And then I got
real quick. Was that a football related injury or
squatting?
Squatting.
Yeah, it was football and weightlifting.
Yeah.
So my first back injury happened in high school, where I slipped 2 discs in high school. That was my junior year. I fell on someone's knee, and then my back like just bent.
Yeah.
Which started you could just see the trend of I'm getting healthy and I'm getting hurt again, healthy, and you could just see there was a downward trend.
Right.
Hopefully one time I would turn it around. It just never did.
Yeah. Was it like just you went in there heavy squat one day and just like kind of tweaked it? Like I know you said you were squatting. Was it like just a heavy squat, or were you just a freak accident? How did that happen?
We were doing sets of 8.
Okay.
And I would say it's more freak,
Yeah.
just like a crazy accident. I went down, went up on I think like my 6th rep, and then all of a sudden I stood up and there was no pain. It felt different.
Yeah.
It was just like I racked it, and I turned to the strength coach, and I was like, "Hey, something just happened. I don't know what happened." And then walk into the trainer's room, and all of a sudden my back just tightens up, just a board. They did some cortisone shots later on, and then the final injury the final tweak was we were in fall camp, and we were doing O-line versus D-line, no pads, and I was doing my back step, and the D-lineman stiffed armed me, like he just touched me first, and my back leg wasn't down, and just like twisted, and then from that point, again, there's no pain, and then it just tightened up and it didn't relax.
Man.
It was just like I couldn't tie my shoes, I would have to figure out ways to put on my shorts. I had to have my friends tie my shoes for me, put on my socks, because I just couldn't reach it.
Yeah.
I could get to like my lower knee, but that was about it. When I was I'd go to physical therapy, and they would take this like winch, and they basically just pull it apart.
Okay.
I think the football dream really hit me hard was when I was talking to our team doctor, and I was like, okay, how long am I going to be out? Like, are we looking at like a year? Are we looking at 2 years? And there was previous talks with, hey, football might be over for you. But what hit me hard was the moment he looked in my eyes and he goes, Brad, you don't get it. This isn't about you playing football again. I want to say as a doctor, when I see you in 10 years, that you can pick up your daughter. Because that might not be on the table anymore.
Wow.
And I was like, football doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It was a huge part of my identity of who I was.
Yeah.
And losing football hurt, but also losing who you were was also like, there was my college football career. I have 0 stats. I was sophomore year of college when that happened. Mm-hmm. I was second string, so I never stepped on the field. And then all the work I did up from that point was nothing. And then I looked at myself without football. And I wasn't like, you walk around, and I don't know how you guys felt. I probably had a little bit more pride, where I walked around like I was something. I was something special.
Oh, I mean,
yeah, you're in the same company.
yeah. Pride. I mean, I think it's. I know we're kind of getting off of the testimony. This is all part of your testimony, right?
Yeah. And I think this brings up a pretty good point that you and I have talked about. A lot.
Yeah. I mean, being a young man in that environment, it's very difficult. There are a few. I'm sure you had guys on your team that were good Christian guys, and they didn't display a whole lot of pride. But man, I mean, that was something I struggle with too, right? Like I'd see myself on a poster for like the upcoming game, and be like, yeah, Bobby's the man. So, dude, you're hitting the nail on the head, and I mean, I think we could both relate to the identity piece of it for sure.
Yeah. That's I think how my story panned out was like I had that pride and that ego and that opportunity with the absence of Christ. Like I knew who Christ was because I previously like had somewhat of a relationship with them growing up. But having that coupled with, and then your identity change, like, kind of tell us a little bit more about how that affected you and how that either strengthened your relationship with God or maybe had you take a step back.
Okay. To add a little bit more in there to get to where I was, that like God grabbed a hold of me. And when I say this, I was not a great boyfriend. Like I wasn't terrible, but so the night I got hurt, my girlfriend at the time calls me. She was like super drunk, accusing that I cheated on her. We're in fall camp.
Yeah.
There's not a possibility.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to explain to her like, hey, there's no possibility, whatever. And she says straight up, the reality is because you're no longer a football player, you're no longer enough to be worth it.
Wow.
And this was like, I was saving up for a ring at this point. I thought she was the one. And so you're dealing with the football loss. And then there's also that question, maybe the only thing that was great about me was football. Because the girl I loved thought that. And so with that, before that final back injury, I was doing just like ibuprofen, Tylenol, and then they gave me some opiate painkillers, but I ran out of that. And then it's called looping out. I didn't know what it was called at the time, but you take basically just to buy a bunch of over-counter stuff, and you just mix it with alcohol, and it just numbs you. And so for that period, I just was doing anything just to numb myself, anything to get out of my head. And then when they fixed my back to where my sciatic nerve wasn't active, I was like, sweet, I don't need this stuff anymore. Yet I couldn't stop doing it. And there was a time my buddy brought in some girls we lived in the Commodore area where you had different rooms, and then and he brought some girls in my room, and I still remember I was playing Fortnite with overgrown toenails because I couldn't clip my toenails. I was wearing my DC pajama pants, just overweight. I think I was like somewhere around 350 pounds at the time, wearing some cheap headphones. I was like, all right, I need to change my life. And that was awesome for about a week. And then I went back to the painkillers. And then I started running out of money. And so I became a bouncer at a bar. And kept on going, it would last for 2 days. And then all of a sudden I would find myself drinking on the way to class in the morning. And I was probably at the worst was doing about one of those tiny bottles of ibuprofen a day.
Oh, wow.
Not good for your body.
No.
I get to a point where I go sober for 2 weeks, where I haven't touched anything. And my brother and I went to the same college. That's going to be important in a second. I relapsed that day. And I was heading on to my job to be a bouncer. And I go into a gas station to get some nicotine. And then there's a cop there, and I got busted for a fake ID. And so I am just, saddened over why I can't say no to non-addicting things. I'm feeling like a mistake. I'm feeling worthless. And while I'm bouncing, some kid, a lot smaller than myself, was just irritating me. He was just drunk, and he thought it was funny. And so when I went in to kick him out, I made sure he remembered that he pissed me off. And I remember after that feeling so down. And my brother borrowed my car to go to Perrysburg. And when he came back, he left it near the bars and got to drive back to the dorms. I got in my car and I drove to lot 16 right outside of Founders in Bowling Green, Ohio. And my mom, when I was growing up with dyslexia, she was always like my champion. My dad helped me a lot, but like my mom was like the encourager. And she was super big growing up, was like, hey, you're not going to bully. That's not who you are. That's not what real men do. And I was sitting in that lot and looked at my life and I was like, hey, I am a washed up D1 athlete. I can't say no to addicting things. And my mom, if she knew who I was, would say I was a bully. And in that moment, I was like, you know what? I've been a mistake my whole life. I feel like a mistake. It's better to end the mistake. And so I had a gun in my glove box, and I grabbed it and I loaded one round in the chamber. And I was like, one more song. And when my brother borrowed my car, he turned it into a Christian radio station on the way back. And I turned it on, and it was Who You Say I Am by Hillside Song. And then the song after was Reckless Love.
Wow.
I look in the back of my car, and my brother actually left his Bible there. I was like, all right, let's see what you got. So I reach back there, and I grab it, and I do a page flip. And I just close my eyes, and I point to a Bible verse, and it was Matthew 11:28. All those who are tired, all those who are weary, come to me, and I'll give you rest. And so I cried out to the Lord that day. I was like, Lord, I need you. And if you ever had the Lord speak to you, it's not like it's like a, hey. It's just like, it's a thought that pops in your head.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was a thought, it says, can I use you? And I was like, God, I'm broken now. He said, can I use that? And I was like, well, take it.
Yeah.
And I wake up the next morning and I get called to an insurance internship. And looking back, those guys were great. A couple of them were Christian guys. Always, hey, you need to be successful. You have to read your Bible, because I was chasing money at this time.
Right.
And going to a place I've never been. It was in Columbus, Ohio, and spending a bunch of time with Christian men. Hey, doing this. I would want to say that I was like full on fire for God for years on end.
Right. Yeah.
But after, because that was when COVID hit, then the moment I went back to school when we were back in the dorms, it was back to the drinking. I wasn't doing painkillers anymore. Oh, I skipped a massive part of my ceremony.
So it sounds like growing up, like the seed was planted.
Yeah.
Right. So that stepping away, was that period of time that you were just talking about where maybe you still believed, but like what was that like? Were you still, did you still know that Jesus was who he is and God was who he is? Like walk me through that a little.
I would say my stepping away of my faith, it happened a couple times. I'd say that was the ex who broke up with me. She's from the area.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to build a better relationship, and like, hey, we're going to be a distance relationship. This is going to be hard. And we decided to have sex. And I grew up in the purity moment where like sex out of this marriage is this disgusting thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, don't, like, it's gross. You don't want to do it.
Right.
You're going to hate it. And I had it, and I was like, man, this was awesome. All right. And that led a seed in my heart where it was like, hey, what else is awesome to try?
Yeah.
And that's how my faith was. You know, it was, if I was in class, if I was in college and someone said something about Jesus, you better be sure I was defending him.
Right.
But I wouldn't sit with him. I
Yeah.
wouldn't read my Bible.
Yeah.
I would go to church, sometimes a little hungover, but I wouldn't read my Bible. I wouldn't pursue it. And so it was the very, very lukewarm.
Yeah.
Would be the best word around it.
It's one of those things where it's part of the process at times, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know that God doesn't necessarily want us to step away from him. But I know with kind of the guys that we are, I'm curious if you guys feel the same way. Like sometimes that period of stepping away is a necessary part of the story to understand what it feels like to be in the absence of his presence, like his true presence, right? Because I think, when we've talked about it a couple times, I think a lot of the times, just with our society and stuff, it's like, if you look at the stats, it's like, there's some ridiculous number, like 70% of people claim to be Christians. And I would venture to say that a lot of them are in that lukewarm kind of phase that all three of us have been in.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, our stories aren't too far off with college, drinking, girls. Like, I mean, so obviously the knock, the time that God like spoke to you, obviously that's really defined.
Yeah.
Right. In your life. When that happened, you started talking about the insurance. Talk about that a little bit. It sounds like you were resisting some stuff, but it was, you were still kind of starting that sanctification process a little bit.
So yeah, it was, and talk about when Christians are lukewarm. I want to bring up Romans 8:28. Everything works out to the good of those who love Him. Yeah. I hate that everything's God's plan.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. It wasn't God's plan for Adam and Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge.
Right.
But God can use everything to His plan.
Yeah.
It talks about that in Romans. And so it's with that, and I'm very gracious. I wouldn't change my story. And the sanctification process is first started with the pills. And in April, that following April 2020, my appendix bursted. I had to leave the hospital. I had to go to the hospital. And that was actually the first day COVID was actually found in Ohio. And it was actually in the Columbus, Ohio's hospital. So everything's like locked down.
Yeah.
And I kind of go up to, and I kind of have a higher pain tolerance. And so I walk in there and I'm like, hey man, I'm really hurting. I need to be seen by a doctor. And they're like, okay, go take a seat. I was there for like 30, 40 minutes just sitting. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to be rude, but I need a bed. I can't sit. Because I kept on getting yelled at for laying on the ground.
Yeah.
So they put me in some room in the back corner. And I don't know how long I was there. It was like I was coming in and out of consciousness. And a nurse finally took my blood work. Came in, take my blood work. Because a doctor said I was constipated. Hey, you're just constipated. And I'm like, man, dude, I've took some pretty big poops. I'm an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
This is a little different.
I made some Taco Bell.
Right? And all of a sudden, like, people rush back in. They put an IV in me. And I was, like, on the very edge of being septic.
Wow.
They're like, hey, we got to get this out of you now. And so that goes through that process. And they gave me painkillers again. I kind of just told them like about my ibuprofen and stuff like that. Like, oh, these will be fine. And so the first day I took them, and then the second day, a bunch of those painkillers fell in my hands. And there was a draw like, hey, it's okay if you take them all. You're in pain.
Right.
And I started shaking, and I ended up throwing the pills against the wall. And I straight called my mom, and I let her know everything's going on. She knew about the appendix, but I was like, about the painkillers, about the drinking. And I straight said, hey, I can't do this without you guys. I need help. And I remember being so afraid of telling my mom about her son. And her words right after was, we're on our way. She grabs my dad. We're 6 hours from Columbus, Ohio. This is at like, I think 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And they drove up to get me, and I listened to the song, No Longer a Slave, on repeat until they picked me up.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time believing that like the guy who was addicted to pills was dead. That like, hey, God, Jesus is working. And so that's what got me into my fitness journey, was I said, hey, if I could step on a bodybuilding stage, that I would prove it to myself.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that I could live that life and do this.
Right.
And so that started, I was probably 3 plus something.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I came back to Missouri. It's because I walked when I was home. I walked into supplement superstores and was basically talking. Landon, I forget which store he's managing now. I talked to him and I was like, "Hey man, I just need to lose weight." And I left with a bag of OptiGrades. Those things were disgusting, but he made them sound like they were the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
But they worked.
Yeah.
And then I got a meal plan, and then that just started that process. And there's a lot of things that related to faith and fitness that goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Yep.
And so the sanctification process, I had good months and bad months. There for a while, I was like, hey, I prayed out to God. I believe it's God of the Bible, but I want to make sure it's God of the Bible. And so what I started doing is I started studying a bunch of different religions.
Okay.
Hinduism, looked into that for a little bit, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, Muslim, or Islam, sorry, and just trying to study different religions. You see, okay, why do I believe this one?
Yeah. So this was after the time that God spoke to you when you were sitting in your car.
Yes.
And so was there still confusion about like that voice, or was it just like a underlying doubt, or what did that look like?
It wasn't confusion of like God spoke to me.
Yeah.
It was confusion of, hey, I want to make sure it's the God of the Bible.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of times I just, hey, it's in the Bible, so I'm going to go with blind faith.
Right.
And when I went back and I looked at all this stuff on the Bible, I was like, there's no denying Jesus is who he says he is.
Yeah.
A great book was Evidence That Demands a Verdict. I forget the author's name, but if anyone ever wants to like dive in and look at the actual claims of the Bible and the proof behind it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I was going to church when I was back home, but the moment college picks back up, sanctification process, I get lukewarm again. And it was still trying to figure, because I still felt like a mistake to some level, whether I wanted to admit it or not.
Yeah.
After I felt weak still, and so I was like, hey, if I bench 405, I'm balling. I'm a strong dude now.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and then it was like, dude, I walked around chest puffed, like, hey, don't mess with me for like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it was like, it got you far, but never got you there.
Right.
Yeah. So, it sounds like a lot of what you were going through, and it's very similar to kind of my story and probably a little bit of Bobby's. Is like the influences of the world. It sounds like through that process, like obviously that it sounds like the knock was when you were sitting in your car and you turn on the radio and those songs, the Christian station was playing. And obviously you go through, some of your process, but it sounds like you ran into some trials, like through, like, just because you get that knock, we're not absent of trials.
No.
And then we're also like, I feel like for the same thing, when I had the knock happen for me, I kept going back and seeing if the world could provide what I needed. And
When was that? When did you get the knock?
for me, it was probably about 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was out of college, like through professional football, and I was at an all-time low. It was a difficult time for me. I lost my identity. So my story like really relates with yours. I put all of my identity into worldly things. Mm-hmm. So my ability to play football, my ability to provide as an athlete, like I thought I was going to be able to create this life as an athlete and become, wealthy and want all the worldly things through athletics. Like I never glorified God for what he blessed me with and the abilities he blessed me with. And it just sounds like your story sounds similar. Obviously there's a lot of different moving parts, but similar. And even after you received that knock, there was still pieces of you that were there were some worldly things that you wanted to try, or you not saying that you try to find identity in those things, but I mean, maybe you did. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's when I went back to college. There was a girl I liked a lot, and I started taking her out on dates because this was about a year and a half after my ex. And I had another girlfriend I knew through the bars, text me. She was like, "Hey, are you going on a date with blah, blah, blah?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, she's pretty awesome." And she brought proof that that girl who I was going on dates with was just using me for free food. And so that mistake feeling came back. And then I said, screw it being a good guy. I'm just going to sleep around because I'm never going to have another girl make me feel like a mistake. And so that went on till the end of college, which was my senior year. Still probably about a year and a half after college, I went over to this girl's place, and when I was coming home, the feeling, like when you do that, you just the hole in your heart just keeps getting larger.
Yeah.
And on the way back, I'm crying. Like I just slept with a girl, and I'm on my way back crying like a baby. Like I'm 24 years old at that time.
Yeah.
I was like, why am I crying? And I feel like a mistake, and I just bawled my eyes out for the rest of the night. And then following week, another girl, we started texting, and I was actually going to go over to her place, and a friend of mine so happened to text me, and we hung out for a little bit, and they're like, "Hey, who are you going to go and see?" And I was like, blah, blah. And they were like, "Hey, she's talking to your buddy. She's dating your buddy." And I confronted that girl, and she's like, kind of. And I was like, "Well, I can't do this with my dog. Like, this is no." And I kind of told her off. But I was angry at the time, and I was angry at God. And because I was like, I look at my brother, he's getting married. He was engaged at the time, getting married. My little sister has her husband. Well, she's engaged. She's actually about to get married now. My little sister has her boyfriend. And I was like, where's my woman of God? Because I've been single for, 4 years now. And again, God knocks, and he was like, "Are you a man of God, a woman of God with love?" And the passage, and I can't think of it right now, being lukewarm in Revelations come. And do you guys know the reference about purifying gold there? Do you guys know how that works?
Yeah.
Where they scrape them clean?
Yeah.
And then it's known as it's purified when the forger can see himself in the gold. And so I prayed there. I'm like, "Hey, God, scrape me clean until you can see your reflection." 2 weeks later, I just had a weird call to ministry. I was like reading my book, and for like 6 months I was reading my Bible, and I go up to my dad. I'm like, "Hey, how do you know you have a call to ministry?" And he's like, "You just get this burden, like this thing you have to carry." And I was like, I don't think it can be, but I'll need a sign. And then one of my gym buddies the next day this was Monday morning at like 4 a.m., walks up to me, and this dude is crisp as clear, like he's not a Christian. Dude is cussing everything, womanizer. Walks up to me and goes, "Man, it's going to sound crazy, but I think we need to have a Bible study, and I would like you to lead it." Well, okay. Where do we do this at? So fast forward, I actually asked the gym owner where that discussion happened, Project Power. He's like, "Yeah, you guys can do it in the side room." And that's Bible study still going on today.
Cool.
Then a guy named Matt Granados, who was a pastor, invited the other guys to church.
Yeah.
And so
He's over at North Road, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been a couple months ago. I was at that men's breakfast.
Yeah.
It was pretty good though. It was like great keynote speakers and really good fellowship. So
It's he's a great. You guys got to get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
We talked to Levi because I think Levi's really good buddies with them. But yeah,
absolutely.
But long story short, we switched the Bible study to where it's, hey, bring what you got and you got to read the Bible. And I was reading Luke, and man, I don't know why I can't remember it, but it says, with Jesus, the blind will walk. The lame will walk, the blind will see. He healed everyone, and I'm paraphrasing. And I was sitting there at my kitchen table, and I prayed again. I was like, hey, God, can you fix me? Can you fix my mistake? And as clear as day, that thought came back where God knocked. He said, who called you a mistake? Wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a mistake when I created you. Wasn't a mistake when I died for you. And it's not a mistake that I love you. And I bawled my eyes out. I actually sent the video to Mac Granados. It was like, hey, it makes sense. And then that would be like the final knock where it just all wraps everything up.
Yeah. How long ago was this?
I think it's been a year, maybe year and a half, maybe 2.
So, yeah, I mean, I do remember when, is that Bible study, when is that Bible study? Because I remember you were in our men's group, and then I do remember you having that conversation like, hey, I've been called to lead this Bible study. And it's pretty cool because you said it's at Project Power.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we do our.
Yeah, that's where we work out every Wednesday morning with our team.
Our company.
And then we do our Bible study at Bishop Diners right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's every other week at 5 p.m. In Project Power on the side room.
Nice.
By the way, for the viewers to see, the Bible study we were in, it's all virtual, so we can't see each other. I don't know if people. Like, how are they in the Bible study? And they don't know each other.
Yeah. We're all like over like 6'3" and above, and like, if you saw us once, like you'd recognize us. And we were like, oh, Brad, you were on our Bible study.
It wasn't. It is. I mean, it still goes. Like we had it this morning, but it is. There's a lot of guys that I still haven't met from that, but
you don't even know what they look like.
Very, very vulnerable conversation. It's just a dark little screen, but
Man,
hey,
guy could do his work there.
Yeah.
So that's crazy, man. Like you have this conversation with your dad, and the next morning, did you look at that as like, okay, God,
this is God. Like,
I got you. Yeah, I hear you.
Because this guy and we were friends since I came home from college. After my appendix bursted, and we started lifting, and he was one of the older dudes at the gym who were like helping me bodybuild.
Right.
Nice.
And so then I switched over to Project Power. Did never talk to this guy, and I see him the next morning lifting at Project Power, and it's just how God keeps people in your life.
Yeah.
Him and I have been friends since for a while, and gym friendships, they're awesome, but they don't last usually long because people's seasons change, and what times they can work out. And when he came up, he's like, hey, I think we need to have a Bible study. And I felt like it needs to be you to start it. Yeah. And I was just like, all right. It's just, all right. And dude, I remember my first Bible study we were going to go do a Bible study, like a word study of like the representation of the Bible.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. You know what we should start on? The 5 sacraments of Leviticus. I mean, I'm like, what was I thinking?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a bold move.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. Well, it's just like how Jesus appears up in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
I was like, that will make so much sense to everyone.
Yeah.
I was like, probably not the best. Maybe start in the book of John. Actually, who is this Jesus character?
I've done that. Almost exactly when I was trying to evangelize one of my buddies. Mm-hmm. Like I hit him with Leviticus because we were doing like Toro cards and stuff like that. Yeah. So I hit him with Leviticus and the stories through there. And I thought about it. I was like, maybe that was a little aggressive.
Bobby likes to hit you over the head with he used to at least like to hit you over the head with the Bible.
Yeah, I'm getting better.
With evangelizing, but
I'm getting better with it.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, that was a lot packed in there. Some things to kind of talk about a little bit, how the enemy attacks you and all that. Like it sounds like he made you feel unworthy.
Yeah.
Right. And like that was his tactic with you.
Condemnation. Yeah.
It's always interesting. The devil never has anything new.
Yeah.
He plays the same way. And there's first pride, and then there is he tries to hide grace. There's grace is getting something you don't deserve.
Yeah.
And I didn't deserve Jesus' love.
None of us do.
None of us do.
Yeah.
Right? But it's that, what do you do with that? Do you say, Lord, I am so grateful that you love me? Or is it like where I just would go and try to find love in other areas? Right?
Yeah.
I truly, like, there's a beauty that when we search for worldly things, what we're really doing is we're searching for Jesus. Right? Why does people love to go to the mountains? Well, it talks about in Scripture, all the stars proclaim the glory of God. Right?
Yeah.
Everything you see in nature tells you there's God in this. You can't stand back and look at the grandeur. And that's what you see in, like, when you do study all the other religions, they have some sort of piece of Jesus in there.
Yeah.
Like the Native Americans were really big on respecting nature due to the fact that it is created. And when I was searching for money, you're searching for something, you're searching for the worthwhile to have value.
Yeah.
Well, you can only find value in Jesus Christ. And how the devil plays is, instead of having humility to where you're like, I'm going to submit to God, I'm going to do it on my own, same as in the garden. And when I would go to the different, like, drinking, going to women, it was the same cell.
Yeah.
Hey, you want this desire, this relationship, you want to feel connected to God, don't get in your Bible. Go to someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's a little bit of a spicy topic, but I think, you know, we've been there with you. So, like, what you're saying is not anything that
Yeah.
we've experienced. And you know it's crazy. I mean, you know, we talk a little bit about the things of this world and kind of how the world, you know, idolizes sex. I mean, it's everywhere, right? Like I mean, you're scrolling Instagram, and the second that you stop on a girl in a bikini, your feed is flooded with it.
Yeah.
And
the
I mean,
algorithm is just,
it's almost like soft porn at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, even on the social media platforms, like what they allow. You know, I mean, that drives home a really good point. And if there's any, you know, young men listening to this, it's like, look, like, you got 3 dudes that played college football. Like we're all big athletic dudes.
Is there one of us under 6'3" here?
No.
No. It's
No, because I mean, you're taller than both of us. You're how tall are you?
6'6".
Yeah, you're about 6'6". You're about 6'4", and I'm like right at 6'3".
Yeah. Okay.
So we played college football. You know, it sounds like we all had our fair share of partying and girls, and I think one of the things that you start to realize as you mature, and especially with your relationship with Christ, is how damaging. You know, you kind of mentioned like the hole that it puts in your heart. And, you know, for me, I was in a little bit different of a situation. You know, I met my wife when, I mean, I was 21 and she was 19. And we went through college and all that stuff together. And we still had periods of you know, not being together. And that's where I would do all the, you know, bad things that I would do. But it's like, man, like the baggage and all of the things that you bring when you do find a godly woman or you do, you know, recommit your guys' lives to Jesus, it's just not worth it.
man. Yeah. I mean, I'm newly married, close to a year now.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I very much did the same thing. When I received the knock and God drugged me from my rock bottom place, I was still like, who made the analogy of the house? Was that Jimmy last week? Or somebody that spoke?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, we wanna have this big nice house, and we want, like, God, you could take the first floor, or you could take the living room and the kitchen. I'm keeping this bedroom right here. This is mine. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I did that when I started like my relationship with Christ. Like, I was like, I'm good. Like, these are the issues that I need fixed. Like, don't touch these yet. Like, I still kind of like these. Like, I still like my vices. Like, I still like going out and drinking, or I still like, you know, dating women or whatever, like, and not just having fun and doing my thing and being single. It's like, man, that has led to so much. There's so many things that I have to die to myself with through that process. And obviously, like, or with being newly married, it's like, you feel the ramifications of your decisions and your past decisions. It's like, man, like it's because I mean, marriage is like one of the biggest marriage and having kids is like one of the most important things, but yet biggest sacrifice that you can make here on earth as a man. And yeah, like I go through struggles sometimes just because of the life that I led up to meeting my wife.
Yeah. What the enemy will like to do is, it'll take the circumstance that you're in right now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, remember when you used to do this?
Yeah.
And then you'll start to kind of like romanticize about it or like glorify it, and it's like you gotta shut that down.
Yeah.
Well, you can look at it like that, and I'm kind of going through that. I have a phenomenal girlfriend.
Nice.
Man, dude, it is different dating a biblical woman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It is so much better.
Yeah.
It is so much better.
Is.
And like, it's just when you read Proverbs, it's like, hey, your worth is more than gold, gold and rubies. You're like, well, what does that mean? How she just makes you feel better than money, Just,
yeah.
But you look in the Israelites when they leave Egypt, and they're in the desert and they're on their way, and they can't go to the promised land because they said because of the giants. And what do they choose to do? They start arguing that they want to go back to Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to slavery.
Yeah. Which it is not just like like it is bad.
Yeah.
And I heard a pastor one time say, it's like, hey, it takes you 2 weeks to get you out of Egypt, but it'll take 40 years to get the Egypt out of you. And how the devil, like you were saying, the devil just romanticizes it and saying, hey, this was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that's a little poke, like,
yeah.
But while you're in it, it sucks. And it's like, I don't want this kind of life. Like, I want a wife. Like, I want kids. Like, I want the godly relationship. But then when you get into the godly relationship, then it is the devil just poking you. Like, hey, you remember the freedoms you used to have here? Remember you get to do whatever you want? Like,
dude, I think there's one specific time where that happened. I think we went out to the bass tournament.
Yeah.
And there's these two young dudes, like maybe about our age, maybe a little younger.
Yeah.
They roll up in this like baller truck, like big boat, and they have two like pretty good looking women with it. And you could tell the dynamic of the situation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they had just picked these girls up and like, they just had a night out on the boat and stuff. And it's like, like for a split second, you're like, oh man, like those were the days. Like, like that was fun. But yeah, man, I mean, that's the tactic of the enemy. So Brad, like, amazing story. I mean, you got into just about everything. You kind of started that with like this, godly woman that you're dating. Like, what is, since you've answered that final knock, what has Jesus done in your life in this last year?
Man, there's a lot. I think the biggest thing is just peace.
Yeah.
This level of just surrendering. Because I've always, when I felt like a mistake, I would pray to make it to the NFL so that I feel like I have worth and that I would feel like I have a purpose.
Yeah.
And the last year, that's what God has done. Where, you read the Gospels about what Jesus did and died on the cross. And you get to understand the level of love that he gives. And you feel that, and just having the ability to share that to others. And we know that Jesus is the good news. But the gift we get to do as Christians is we get to figure out, why is he the good news for somebody?
Yeah.
And I was sitting with a guy in McAllister's, and we were breaking down John 3:16. And I showed him that, like, hey, God's love for you is not dependent on your work. It's freely given. And he's at McAllister's, like, bawling his eyes out and says, I'm actually loved by God. And then someone who's like, I was down in St. Louis and we were talking, and the person was in disbelief that Jesus would actually want to have a personal relationship with him. And he was like, the creator of the world, that guy? And it's such a beauty and a purpose that, like, it's cool to get someone to love football. It's cool when they can become stronger in the gym. But when they feel what Jesus has to offer for the first time, when it makes sense, when they choose no longer to be a slave to sin, but to Jesus, and they feel that love, man, there's nothing else like it.
Amen.
Amen. There's nothing that beats that feeling.
Yeah. So, man, I mean, the whole point of the Knock podcast is to get your story out there. Hopefully you have an impact on somebody that's listening. So if there's somebody that's listening that's maybe they don't know Christ, or maybe they're in that kind of lukewarm phase of their faith, like what's your advice to them?
It's okay to wrestle to the Lord. Just make sure you keep going back. I think a lot of times when we read the story of Jacob and he's hanging on to God and he's like, hey, I'm not letting go until I get my blessing, and he has a bum hip, it's going to hurt. I mean, that is the word Israel meant, wrestle with God, and we get grafted into that blessing. Is when you're a Christian and you read Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount, he said, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. And you're like, what does that mean? And you mourn over your sin. It's okay.
Yeah.
The devil will play in saying, hey, the moment you're mourning over your sin, stop that. No, that's with that mourning you come to Jesus and you're like, hey, I have this sadden, this burden. Take it. And it's not always freely. It's not this easy just sanctification process. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Well,
it is hard.
It is.
But, dude, don't give it up. Because you're going to look back and you're going to be like, dude, that was the greatest decision I could have possibly made.
Yeah. Amen. Dude, that's phenomenal advice.
Yeah.
There was multiple times in this conversation where I got the goosebumps and the shivers just hearing you talk, and your name and I know it's not to glorify Brad. I know it's all glorifying God, but people know you're on fire, right? And it's really cool to hear your story. I appreciate you coming on and being vulnerable and telling us the good news, man.
Yeah, I appreciate what you guys are doing here. It's producing Christian content online is going to be massive. Yeah. It's like, what can God use to some small, and I just imagine a young 16, 18-year-old kid on Instagram at 8 o'clock or let's say 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And he's scrolling through his feed and he's trying to find an answer.
Yeah.
God can use a podcast like this. And so I appreciate with what you guys are doing and what the effort you're putting forward.
Yeah, thank you, man.
We appreciate it, man.
Yeah. If you're a 6'3" or over, no, I'm just kidding. But no, if you're a young man, I think this, obviously we're three dudes sitting here. Obviously, the women listen to the podcast, they can get something out of it. But man, I plead with the heart of the young men listening to learn from our mistakes.
Yes.
God is there. No matter what you're going through, God is there. Give it a chance. I think your advice was phenomenal. It's okay to wrestle. It's okay to go through these hard things.
Yeah. And don't give up. Don't let the enemy shy you away from continue to attack and seek that relationship with God and seeking God's face, because obviously you see the fruits of it now. But if you would have stopped the first time that it was like, oh, this is hard, oh, I messed up, oh, I'm not worthy, probably totally different situation right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep pushing on, keep exploring. Yeah,
it's all worth it.
Yep, it is.
Any young guy about to go to college is not like Blue Mountain State for football.
No.
Yeah. It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not all.
You don't really want it to be. You don't really want it to be.
No.
It's not. They make that show sound because they make that show look awesome. That's the life.
Yeah.
That life is not actually that great.
No.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work. But Brad, where can people find you? If they have questions for you, want to learn more about you.
I'm the only Brad Papez out there on Instagram right now.
Boom.
So
that's easy.
You spell Papez, Papez. It's kind of like paper without the R and you add a Z. 50. There's a funny story behind that, but we'll save that. I'm usually a lot better on Instagram than Facebook, But yeah, Instagram or Facebook is usually the best ways to contact me.
Awesome.
I'm not really great with email. I'll be honest.
We have a saying in our company: "Email's the devil."
Yeah,
we don't do it.
I don't understand why people email things.
I mean, it feels archaic now.
Yeah,
like
it's a dying communication.
Form of communication for sure.
It made sense in like the 90s when they called text.
Yeah. Next, fax machines and beepers, email's bunched into that for me. Yeah. But guys, thank you for listening in. You know, I hope this testimony from Brad had an impact on you. Seek Jesus, build a relationship with him, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning into The Knock. If this story moved you or made you think, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs hope. Follow us on social media at The Knock Podcast for more content. And remember, God is always knocking. The question is, will you answer?